For the past half-century, visionary people have worked to preserve Mt Diablo and the ecosystems it supports. Their success has protected large areas of land from commercial development and private exploitation. The result is a variety of open spaces, most of them parklands reserved in perpetuity for the benefit and enjoyment of the public. Both governmental and non-governmental entities have been involved. Among the former are Mt Diablo State Park, the East Bay Regional Park District, the East Bay Municipal Utilities District, and local governments. Among the latter are the Open Space Foundation of Walnut Creek and other communities, and numerous charitable organizations and land trusts such as Save Mt Diablo. The following graphic, prepared by Save Mt Diablo, highlights this astounding impact. During the 1970s and 1980s, a paltry 7,000 acres was protected. This is the central black area on the map. Today, a half-century later, over 120,000 acres is protected, including the large green area surrounding the black core. This enormous achievement deserves ongoing celebration, and with this video, I voice my own joy and exultation, my paean to open space. I dedicate it to the early pioneers of land use preservation and their successors in this ongoing effort. I salute you all in immense gratitude. You all have given me and numerous others the freedom to wander and wonder. Before I take you on my Diablo walkabout, let's do the introductions. First, meet Nick, my regular companion on most of my hikes. When he was young, Nick required continual oversight, but these days he has acquired a more meditative appreciation of Mother Nature. And there I am, Nick's old man, Jan D., landscape photography enthusiast, Tai Chi practitioner and teacher, as well as occasional wordsmith. Together, Nick and I hike the open space of our home range daily, usually one of the nearby Walnut Creek or regional parks. My wife Jean, also an avid hiker, joins us on a regular basis. Occasionally, Jean and I venture further in and higher up to savor the grand majesty of the mountain itself in Mt Diablo State Park. As enthusiastic members of Save Mt Diablo, we often join their wonderful excursions into less explored areas near Mt Diablo and beyond, into the Diablo Range to the south. As Save Mt Diablo has recognized, the Diablo Range is California's next great conservation project. When I first started walking in the open spaces, I used to pick a destination and consult the map to find the shortest path to get there. But out in nature, I soon discovered that all paths have their own character and moods, their own unique challenges and rewards. Over time, gradually, the paths themselves became my destination. Some are up on the ridges, and some are down by the creeks. Some are exposed, and some are hidden. Some are wide, while others are narrow. Some run through grassland, and some traverse woodland. But they all best reveal their beauty when one walks upon them. So let us walk them, you and I, and revel in the colors of the season. Color infuses each season in the open space. In this part of California, sometimes season is defined almost exclusively as wet or dry, since precipitation or its lack thereof is so important. But whether wet or dry, visually, four color combinations become apparent. Among the things I love most in the open space are the endlessly rolling green hills of springtime. With the first rains, Mother Nature begins to awaken the open space to a new cycle of life and color. As grasses begin sprouting and pushing up through the soil, a brand new green earth begins to emerge. Gauzy at first, in time this green acquires a brilliant sheen. Above the new grasses, the skeletons of the still leafless brown trees stand and bear silent witness over the greening earth. Thus, late winter's defining color combination is brown on green. The spring months of the wet season complete this greening transformation as the taller deciduous shrubs and trees leaf out again. Slowly, as green trees appear above the green earth, springtime defines itself visually through its color combination of green on green. It is springtime, and Our Lady in Green is not shy to be seen. In her many splendored dresses, she does strut and scream, coyly promising caresses. How do you like me in my yellow coat? Or do you prefer the purple? Maybe the orange one? Ah, the pure white one then. Or a perfect mix of my wildflowers, perhaps. All this extravagant springtime beauty is able to spring to life thanks to the storms of the winter and spring months that bring the wet season to the open space. Storms like this one that I recorded in March of 2021. This time-lapse movie compresses about 6 hours of storm into just over 2 minutes of film. While this storm was severe and dumped a lot of snow higher up on Mt Diablo and torrential rains at the lower elevations, in other respects it is typical of the San Francisco Bay Area's wet season's weather cycle. Precipitation these days, when it falls, is often warmer than I remember in the past. I've noticed less snow and less frost. No doubt, climate change is largely responsible. But perhaps because of its declining frequency, I appreciate snow and frost all the more when they do occur. Their effect on the landscape is so extraordinary, and therefore so pleasing. However, when the storms are too fierce or follow one another too frequently, the open space takes a beating. The earth simply cannot absorb so much water coming down so fast, and the water becomes a destructive force. With streamlets combining into creeks and creeks joining into streams, reservoirs and ponds fill to overflowing. Raging streams turn into menacing rivers, threatening nature and human life and infrastructure alike. With the ground saturated, hills collapse into mudslides. when the waterlogged trees cannot handle the stress, they split or topple over like fallen heroes. As the days grow longer and the light grows stronger, at some point the storms do stop coming and the rains do stop falling. Eventually, the dry season takes us into summer and fall. In between spring and summer, however, there is a brief border season with its own special magic. As the green grasses and other plants begin to die and turn brown, some do so sooner and some do so later, depending on whether they receive more or less direct sunlight. This dynamic often creates interesting visual contrasts between brown and green and the pleasing geometric shapes. As the year continues and the rains lessen and stop, the green grasses of the springtime hills fade away into fields of endless yellow-orange, becoming the rolling hills of summer. Yet, most of the trees are still in full leafy splendor, which gives the summer its defining color combination of green on brown. As the dry season advances, the many types of grasses, shrubs, and trees, one after the other, succumb to the increasing heat and lack of moisture. In late summer and fall, they are followed by the trees. including buckeye, bay laurel, and native oaks, also losing their leaves. As the silhouettes of the trees become a pronounced brown-gray, the drying and dying landscape takes on the defining color combination of autumn, brown on brown. Climate change is also affecting the dry season, with higher temperatures and more extreme droughts being some of the impact. One example is the speeded up drying of natural ponds, with severe impacts for local wildlife. Another example is the alarming increase in the size and frequency of wildfires. As these images show, initially fire seems to unleash utter devastation. But if the burn is not too long and not too hot, fire also plays a role in recovery from that devastation. In the brown on brown of the dry season, Mt Diablo's rocks become particularly visible. The mountain came into being more than 140 million years ago through the dynamics of plate tectonics. As the Pacific Oceanic plate subducted beneath the continental plate, it lifted and pushed the latter up, in the process creating the mountain. As a result, many different types of rock from many different geological eras have been moved around and exposed, providing habitats for Mt Diablo's flora and fauna. I am an early riser, and my walkabouts in open space with Nick are pretty much early morning affairs. Accordingly, the route we choose to walk depends largely on how we feel about the conditions of each morning. When it's hot or storming, we choose valleys and canyon trails, seeking the protection of lower elevations. This is where most of the trees live, and so in these early mornings, I have often experienced the magical intimacy of the woods. Early morning fog at sunrise creates another magical experience. The show of light and shadow can be almost otherworldly. In the end, though, few things can surpass sunrise as the sublime experience of awe and gratitude.